welcome back to my channel. I am really excited to share this beautiful baby blanket pattern with you. It is so cute. It has a lot of neat design to it. I think this is a really cute border on the outside, and guess what? This only requires 2 stitches. If you are new to crochet and you're just starting out, this is the blanket and the pattern for you. I am going to take you step by step through this whole blanket, and you'll see that with just using 2 stitches, going back and forth, and adding a nice little fun border, that you can get this done in no time with no problem. So I hope you'll join me for this pattern, and let's go ahead and get started and see what we're going to need. Okay, first let's take a look at what materials you're going to need. For this blanket, I am using a weight 4 acrylic yarn. I happen to be using the Bernat Super Value in white. You can use any color, any kind. I would just say as long as you're using a weight 4, that you'll be okay to pretty much match what I'm doing today. You'll also need a hook. I am using a 6mm hook or a J, depending on what you're looking at, for this project. Now, generally, I usually go by what's on the package. If you'll see, this is a weight 4 and it recommends a 5mm, but for this particular project, I'm just going to go with the 6mm, a little bit bigger. It'll make it a little more flexible, a little less tight of a stitch, and I think that's a good idea for a baby blanket. You'll also need a pair of scissors, and you'll need some sort of tapestry needle just to weave the ends in when we're done at the end of this. So get your materials together and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get started here, we're going to need to start with making a slip knot in our yarn. And I'm going to go through each step here since this is really for beginners. I want to make sure that it's very clear for anybody who hasn't done these things before. First of all, for a slip knot, I do have a tutorial which I'll link in the description box below for 3 different types of ways that you can do a slip knot. I kind of still do it the old-fashioned way where I just wrap it around my finger and I pull a loop up through the hole. It's just easy, but there's many different ways that you can do it, and that's the way that I chose to do it. Um, for starters, we're going to make a foundation chain, and the foundation chain is the very first chain that all your stitches will be based on. There are a couple different ways to do this, but the easiest way is just to yarn over the hook and pull through the loop that was on your hook, and that's 1 chain, right? And we'll just do that again, yarn over, pull through, that's 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3 chains. The thing that's important about your foundation chain is that you want to make sure that all your stitches are pretty much the same size. If you pull out too far and then do a stitch and do it this way, you can see that one's a little bit bigger. You know, you can get a little bit crazy with how you pull those out, and that they'll all be different sizes. Sometimes you can have your tension here really tight and then it can be a small one, but the goal is to make them all the same size. So to keep your tension nice and loose, and when I say that, I'm talking about the tension here between your fingers, if this is the way you choose to hold your yarn. I think most people do, but there's a lot of different ways that you can even hold your yarn. Do what's comfortable for you, but try to keep it enough tension that it gives you a little bit of hold, but not too loose that it all just slips through. So just kind of something to work on. A foundation chain is not a bad practice thing, that you can just sit and do a foundation chain and see, did I get all my stitches the same size? So that's pretty important. For this particular blanket, I am going to do a traditional baby blanket size, which is generally around 35 inches by 30 inches, somewhere in that category. And for this, it's going to require 108 chains, which is a lot. It is important that you count. So, the easiest way to do this is just sit here and do your foundation chain until you count up to 108. And that's going to be our very first row. For those of you that are a little bit more adventurous, you can do what's called a foundation single crochet, and I'm also going to include that tutorial in my link below. And that is a way of putting your first two rows together. So for example, the first row for this is the foundation chain, which is, as I just described to you, 108 chains all the way. The second um, part of that is to go back over all those chains and put in a single crochet, which I'll show you here in a moment. There is a way to do both of those steps in one, where you can do your chain and your single crochet all in one stitch. I don't want to get too bogged down on that because this is supposed to be a beginner tutorial, and there's a little bit more to it um, than that if you haven't done this before. But I will just say, for those of you that are a little bit more advanced, if you want to, the first row is the foundation chain, and then it goes into all single crochets. So if you'd like to, you can do a combination of the single crochet and the foundation chain all in one. So that's an option, but let's go back to our regular chain for right now. So what you'll need, as I described, is your slip knot to start with, which I just made here. And then you're going to make 108 chains. Again, you can do whatever size you want. If you'd like to start with a smaller blanket as your first project, go ahead and do that. I will leave some options in the description box that shows how many chains you would need in order to get different sizes. That might be something you might want to start with. So go ahead and do your foundation chain just like this, yarn over, chain through, yarn over, chain through, and do that until you have 108 stitches. And then come back here and we'll talk about the very first row. Okay, so at this point you should have your foundation chain row. One thing I forgot to mention in the first piece is that for this particular pattern, you just want to make sure that you have an even number. So at this point, if you have an odd number, just add one more chain, and we'll continue on. So to do the first row on top of your foundation chain, it's just going to be, like I said previously, just a row of single crochets. And you'll want to do your first single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So let's take a look at this so that you can see how that's counted. If you see this stitch right here, that is the first chain from the hook. This stitch here is the second chain from the hook. So what we want to do for our single crochet is insert your hook into that chain, and you'll see it'll go under one loop, that top loop right there. Go ahead and yarn over and draw up a loop. You'll have two loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through both, and that is one single crochet. Now if you look at this, you can see this is the chain that you put that single crochet in right there. Now you want to go to this next chain right here and do the same thing. Insert your hook, draw up a loop, two on the hook, yarn over, and draw through both. Okay, so this is the chain we just did that in. Go to the next one here, and we're going to do the same thing. Insert your hook, draw up a loop, two on the hook, and draw through both. Okay, and you can see as you do this, it kind of pulls that chain apart here. So you don't want to be really tight and really hard pulling all these, because you'll pull that chain. Just be really gentle as you do this. Go into that next chain, yarn over and draw up a loop, yarn over and draw through both. All right, so this is what you want to do for this row here, is just continue to do single crochets all the way across. Okay, and you can see you've got your foundation chain down here at the bottom, and then here's that row of single crochets right there. So go ahead and continue to do that all the way across your row of single crochets, and then we can talk about the next row when you get back. So finish that up and meet me back here. Okay, at this point you should have your foundation row, your foundation chain, and your row of single crochets. If you did the foundation single crochet, you'll have that look similar to this, where it's all in one. What we want to do for the next row is first chain one, and then you're going to turn your work, and we're going to start heading back this way. And the first thing that you're going to do, this is where you did your chain one, in this very first stitch right here, where that V is, you can see the V, we're going to do a single crochet. So you know how to do the single crochet because we just did those in that row all the way across. So insert your hook under those two V's, yarn over and pull up a loop, 2 on the hook, and yarn through both. That's your first single crochet. In this next stitch right here, we're going to do a double crochet. So for the double crochet, you want to wrap yarn around your hook before you go in. Now you're going to want to go under those two V's. Let me move that so you can see. Okay? Okay. Then yarn over your hook and pull it up. Now this time you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and go through 2 of those. So now you still have 2 on your hook here, and then yarn over and go through both of those. That would be your double crochet. Okay, those are your 2 stitches that you'll need for this entire blanket. Now the next stitch right here, you're going to want to do a single crochet. So we're back to single crochet. Now your next stitch, you're back to double crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. I'm going to zoom in and just do that one more time. So we're going to do a single crochet and a double crochet. We're alternating those all the way across. So insert your hook, drop a loop, 2 on the hook, go through 1, there's your single crochet. Now we're going to yarn over before we go into that hook, or excuse me, into that stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop, you have 3. Yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, go through 2. The next one is your single crochet, right into that stitch. Okay, and what you're going to do is alternate double crochet, single crochet all the way across. So continue to do double crochet, single crochet all the way across, and when you get to the end, about here, come back, we'll finish up this row and we'll talk about the next row. Okay, so I went ahead and alternated the double crochet and single crochet all the way across. And here I am at the end. I have 2 stitches left and I ended with a single crochet. So I'll do that, repeat one more time. I'll do a double crochet here. And then in this last stitch, we'll do a single crochet. Okay, and that finishes out this row. Now the next row is really easy. What we want to do first is do a chain 1 and then turn your work. We're going to go back the other way. And now all we're going to do is a single crochet in every stitch along here, starting with this very first one right here. You're going to go into that stitch and do a single crochet. And if you're confused at where to put the stitches, I would say look at the top. You can see these V's. You want to go under every V, right? So here's the next one. Single crochet. Here's the next one. single crochet. There's the next one. If you're not sure, look up top there and see that V. It's really easy to tell when it was a single crochet, right? But sometimes it can get a little confusing. If it's a double crochet, it's not as noticeable. So you see that little spot there, there's your V. And go ahead and do that single crochet all the way across. You should end up with the same number. We should be at 107. We started with 108, but when we put the first single crochet in the second chain from the hook, that reduced our total chain count all the way across by 1 to 107. So from now on, every row should have 107 stitches. And this is an easy thing to do, which is to get off on your stitches, and then you have a side that is all different sizes. So especially when you're new, make sure you're counting, either count along or count every row after you finish it and make sure it has the right number of stitches, because that'll keep both of your sides straight and even. That is another reason I made the suggestion that if this is your first time, you might want to start with a smaller blanket, because it's a little easier to count and stay on track there as you get used to this. But go ahead for this row, go ahead and do your single crochet all the way across like this. And when you get to the end, come back here and we'll talk about what to do next. Okay, so I finished doing single crochets all the way across this row. I have 2 stitches left here, this and this. Don't get confused with that starting chain from the beginning there. So I'm going to do the final 2 single crochets of this row. And that's the end. And now we are going to chain 1 and turn again. So that chain 1 and turn will be at the end of every row. All right, now you know the whole pattern. So all we're going to do from now on is repeat those last 2 rows. So we will always start with a single crochet and then go to your double crochet, single crochet, right? You're going to alternate single crochet and double crochet all the way across. You should start and end with a single crochet, chain 1 and turn, and then do a row of all single crochets. Chain 1 and turn, do your single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, alternating all the way to the end. Chain 1 and turn, and do a row of single crochets. And that's all you need to do for this blanket. It is really that simple. Just make sure that you are counting to keep your sides straight and keep your blanket an even size all the way across, and continue to do this until it reaches the length that you'd like. Now, as for me, I said I was doing a kind of a standard baby blanket pattern, so I'm doing 35 by 30, so I'm going to continue to do this back and forth pattern until this blanket reaches about 30 inches. You can do whichever length you want. As I mentioned previously, I put a couple of suggestions in the description box with chain lengths, etc., in case you want to try something a little bit smaller for the first time. But continue to do this, and I think you'll really like the results. When you get to the length that you would like, come back here and we'll talk about whether or not we want to put a border on this blanket. You don't have to, but let's talk about that when you get this to the length that you'd like. Okay, so I went ahead and finished, and I now have a blanket that is about 35 inches by 30 inches, kind of a standard baby blanket size. And you can see how beautiful this pattern looks, even with only 2 stitches. You have this really nice kind of design, and it's a little more interesting than just doing single crochets or double crochets. You have this mixture that really gives you this nice pattern, and it looks harder than it is. I hope you've noticed that as you went along. So you can just stop right here The one thing about putting the one single crochet at the end, and it gives you this little, almost like a little scalloped edging that looks really nice on both sides, as you see here and here. And you just have a single crochet at the end on the other side. So if you want to, you can stop right here, fasten off, weave in your ends, and call this done, because it's really a very, very beautiful pattern and a nice blanket. Now, if you're feeling a little adventurous, I would recommend putting on a little border all around the blanket. Again, doesn't need it with this pattern. It's still very beautiful, but there's something about putting a border on that just gives it a little bit of polish, and we can do that pretty simply. The first thing that we need to do, and probably what I would consider the most difficult part of this pattern, is first, before we do a border, putting a row of single crochets all the way around the blanket. Now, it's not going to be a problem where we have these stitches. You're just going to put single crochets right where those stitches are right there. But when it comes to the side of the blanket where this scallop pattern is, you'll see that there's no V's for you to put your hook under, right? These are the sides of the stitches that we're dealing with here. And so we have to kind of make our own way along the edge of the blanket. And I'll just show you how I do this. And I think it's a nice uniform way to do it. The thing that's important is that you want to do is make sure that however many stitches you put on one side, you put on the opposite side as well. Now, one way to do that, and it's made easy by these, you can see we have rows here that are clearly delineated because of the way that we did our pattern. So one way to do that is to decide how many stitches you want in each row, and just go ahead and do it that way. Typically what I do is, if it's a row of double crochet, I put in 2 stitches. If it's a row of single crochet, I put in 1 stitch. Now what we have here in each row is we have both a double crochet and a single crochet, but I'm going to put in 2 stitches. So for every row here, I'm going to put 2 single crochets in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find the best place to put the stitch while making sure I'm sticking my hook in a spot where I can get under 2 loops if possible, to kind of mimic putting under the 2 loops of the V. Now if you see here on this side, we already have the single crochet here. I'm going to start working right in this part of the stitch. And if we take a look at this, we can see we almost have a little V right there. Let's see if you can see it, kind of a little V there. And I'm going to start in that and try to put my hook in there. Yep. So I have it under 2 stitches, and I'm going to put in a single crochet right there. Now we go to this next row. See, this is the next row right here, and I'm going to put 2 stitches in. One's going to go, I'm trying to hold this up so you can see it here. Let me see if I can get a little bit of a close up there. Okay, we're in this spot right here. I'm going to try to put one right here, and I'll show you where I put that. You see I kind of put it under two stitches there. Okay, that's 1 single crochet, and then the other one I'm going to try to stick right there under those 2 stitches like I did before. Okay, and it might be a little difficult, a little tight there, that's okay. Alright, so we have 2 stitches in that row. Now I'm on this row here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find the best places to put those 2 single crochets. One is going to be right here. And the second one, again, is going to be about where those next two are, right there. You can see that. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. So let's take a look at it this way. I have 2 stitches here, I have 2 stitches here. Here's that next kind of row. I'm going to put 2 there as well. So turn it to the side. We're going to put the first one under these 2 at the top. See how I went through those? And the next 2 in the bottom part of that row, there's 2 there. And do that. So what you want to do along the side is, I would recommend 2 for every one of these rows, 2 for every one of these rows. Go ahead and put those in, and when you get to the end, almost to the corner, stop and come back, because we'll need to treat the corner a little bit differently to make sure our blanket doesn't curl at the corners. We want it to lay flat. So when you get almost to the corner, come back here and I'll show you how to turn that corner and go to the next side. Okay, so you can see now that I did that single crochet all across the left side of the blanket. And now I'm to the bottom, or that corner. Now this corner here is where our foundation row is and our first couple of rows there. So what's important about the corner is that we have to put extra stitches in every corner so that the blanket doesn't curl in. Like I said, we want that to lay flat. So here we are at the bottom here. We're going to want to go ahead and put in your first single crochet, all right, your second single crochet. I'm going to do that here. All right, and now we're at that foundation row here in the corner. And what we're going to want to do, you can do it a couple different ways. I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. In that very corner, that's the first stitch of the foundation row right there. You can either put in 3 single crochets, or so that'll help kind of round that corner like this, or you can put in a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. And I think what I'm going to do for this corner is a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So here's what I did. A single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet, all in that corner stitch. And it gives it a little more space there, again, so that the blanket isn't too tight and it curls up as you go along. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. Now we're turning the blanket, and now we're on the foundation row. This is the row where we did a row of chains, so we're at the actual bottom of the blanket now. And what you need to do is go into every one of your foundation chains at the bottom and do a single crochet. So if you take a look and hold it up, you've got some V's there. All right, and that is your where you did your chains at the very beginning. So you can just go ahead really easily and put a single crochet in every one of those spots all the way across. And then when you get to the other corner, we're going to do that same thing in that corner stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. Again, if you want to do 3 single crochets in that corner, you can do that too. But why don't you go ahead and do the single crochets in each of these foundation chain stitches. And then when you get to that corner, come back here and we'll just touch base again on how to do that corner. And then we're going to turn up the right side of the blanket as well. Okay, so here you can see I did a single crochet all the way across that foundation row. And get my yarn out of the way here. I am now in the corner stitch, so let's take a look at this. We're in the foundation row, and there's that corner. Okay, so in that corner, I'm going to do all in the same stitch, a single crochet, a chain one, and then a single crochet right back in that corner. Okay, so that's my corner, how it's going to wrap around. Now we're on the side again, where we have those rows, and you're going to have to find your stitches in the side of the blanket there. We have one here, so we need another one in this row that we'll put probably under these two here, like that, for a single crochet. And then we'll continue to do that like we did before, 2 single crochets in each row, trying to get them under these V stitches, these ones that look kind of like V's along the edge. Now, one thing to consider, this is the tail from where we started. If you're comfortable doing it, you can weave that in as you go along, like kind of grab it while you do it. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to go into this stitch here and see I have that tail there. I can hold that down and do my single crochet right with that tail there. And I can keep doing that. Like I'm going to go to the next one right here. See, I'm under the V there. I'm going to make sure my tail is stuck in there too. And I'm going to do my single crochet. Now if that's too confusing or too much for you, leave it out and we can weave that back in later. But if you can do it, go ahead and weave that in as you go along. Now one thing you can do with this tail if you want, it's going to go all along the side here. You could actually take the tail so you don't have to keep grabbing it. You could take the tail and kind of pull it in down here somewhere so it's already kind of along the edge there and you don't have to keep looking for it to weave it in. But if it covers up, if it's too confusing and you can't see where to put your stitches, don't worry about it. We can weave that in later. I'm just trying to give you some kind of tips on what you could do to try to help weave that in as you stitch, as opposed to doing it with a tapestry needle later. So go ahead and continue all along. Now we're on the right side of the blanket going back up, and do 2 single crochets in each of these kind of scallop edges, I guess, if you want to say that. And then I'll meet you at the corner again. Okay, and here is that right side. We did the single crochet all the way across there. Came back up to the corner stitch right here. And we're going to do, like we did before, right in this corner stitch, we're going to do a single crochet, chain one, and a single crochet, all in that same stitch. And of course, if you have been doing 3 single crochets instead, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. And now we're back to the top where we had ended with single crochets. You're just going to go ahead and do single crochets all the way across. When you get to the end here where we started our border, come back here. I'll show you how to join that, and then we can talk about our next steps once we join this all the way around. Okay, here is the last round of single crochets on the edge, and you can see we have these 2 stitches left that we're going to do a single crochet here, and then this is the corner. That's that last stitch. So if you remember what we do in the corner, we do a single crochet, a chain, and a single crochet. And now we're back to where we started on this first stitch. Now to join this, what you're going to want to do is a slip stitch. You're going to stick your hook under that stitch, yarn over and pull through a stitch, and you're going to pull it right through the next one, and that joins that in the round, all the way around. Now, once again, now you've kind of put a little bit of a finishing touch on here, all the way around. If you want to stop here, you can stop here. If you want to do an additional round or something a little bit more adventurous, you can do that as well. I'm actually going to do a additional border that I know you can do. If you've gotten this far, you can do this next step, but again, you don't have to. It's totally up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten off this white, and I'm actually going to switch to another color. I actually have this really pretty kind of rainbow in blue, yellow, pink, and I am going to switch to this and kind of put a little fun colorful border around this white one. I just made sure it had the same weight as the white that I've been using, and this is what I'm going to switch to. Again, you don't have to. You can stick with the same color and do this. You can do this however you'd like to, but this is what I'm going to do. Now, so I'm going to finish this off. What I want to do is first, I'm going to cut this and leave a bit of a tail here. What is that, like 6 inches maybe? So that I have enough to weave in later. And for me to fasten it off the way that I do it is I just do a chain and then I pull the thread all the way through. And that kind of creates a little bit of a knot there. And you can see we did the corner and then we ended here, okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to start at a different corner, just so that I don't keep using that same spot. I'm going to start at a different corner to do the next part of this border. So go ahead and find out which corner you want to start with, and then let's move on to the next part of our border. Okay, so here's the corner I'm going to use. And if you remember, when we did the corners, we did a single crochet, a chain, which created a space, and we created a single crochet. We're going to start right in that chain space. It's not really in a stitch, it's in a space right there. And you're going to want to, if you're switching colors, you're going to want to put your hook in that chain space, grab the yarn, the new yarn, leave a little bit amount for a tail that we'll weave in later. So grab that yarn and pull it through. So you just have this tail and this part where the yarn is attached. And you just want to, from here, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, I know this is here. We'll weave it in and make sure that doesn't come out later. But for right now, we're just going to do a chain 3. That's going to count as a double crochet. Now what you want to do is 2 more double crochets in that same chain space that we had right there. So 2 more double crochets. So here's 1, and here's another one. So what we have so far in there is what's considered 3 double crochets. Your chain 3 at the beginning counts as 1, and then these 2 additional double crochets, which I pulled out, so let me put that back in there. Okay, so there's your 3 double crochets right there. Now, what you want to do from here is we're going to skip 2 stitches. So you can see this is the chain, or excuse me, a single crochet here and a single crochet there. Skip those 2, go into the next one, and do 3 double crochets all in this next stitch right here. Here's 1, go right back in there, do 2, go right back in there, and do 3. Okay? Then you're going to want to skip 2 again, and do 1, 2, and 3, all in that same space. Got the pattern? You're going to skip 2 single crochets, go into this next one, and do 3 double crochets, all in that next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And that's all I'm going to do all the way across. I'm going to do 3 double crochets, skip 2 single crochets down here, skip these 2 stitches here, go into the next one and do 3 double crochets, and continue to do that. Skip 2, continue to do that all the way to the end. Now go ahead and do that if you'd like to follow along, and then stop when you get a few stitches from the end here, and we'll talk about finishing that up and turning the corner. Okay, you can see we have this really cute border going all the way across here, and that looks really fun. Now we're at the end here, and I just want to give you a little idea of how to do this corner. First of all, get this out of the way so you can see. First of all, we've been doing skip 2, and just so you know, like skip 2 would take me here to this single crochet right here, so 1, 2 here. But the corner where we have a single crochet, a chain 1, and a corner is right here. We actually want to go into this one. If you get in a situation where you have 3 before the corner instead of 2, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and go into the corner, which is what we're going to do. So just a reminder, here's our corner. We had a single crochet, a chain 1, which is where this space is, and a single crochet. We're going to go into that space. And this, it does mean we'll skip 3 here, but that's okay. So for your corner, you want to do 3 double crochet in that chain 1 space. And then since we're turning a corner, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 3 more right in that same space. So you'll end up in the corner with 6 double crochets in a space instead of 3, with a chain 2 in between. And I'll show you how that helps you round the corner there. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do every time you get to a corner. Now we'll continue with our pattern along this side, just like we have before. Skip 2, and then 3 double crochets into the next space. Skip 2, and then 3 double crochets in that next stitch. Okay, and you'll want to continue that all the way around. So continue that pattern. You get to the next corner, do your 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in that corner, continue all the way around. And you want to do that all the way until we get to where we started the border. Once you've done that, come back here and we'll talk about next steps. Okay, so now we finished with our pattern all the way around, and we're back over here in the corner where we started. So let's finish up this row. If you remember, we started in that corner stitch with the 3 double crochet. Well, the first one was a chain 3, but that counts as a double crochet. So we have the equivalent of 3 double crochets in that corner. And if you remember, our corners are 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So we have part of that corner done, we just need to finish it. So from where we ended with our last grouping there, we're going to go into that corner stitch and add the 3 double crochets that we are missing. All still in that corner stitch. Oops. And the chain 2. And now what we're going to do to finish this out, we have to join it to the chain 3 that we started with. So again, here's the chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch that into the top of that chain 3. So you're just going to put your hook right in the top of that chain 3, yarn over and pull through your yarn, and then also pull it through the loop that's on your hook. There we go. Okay, and that's it. That's it. We're done. Now, if you wanted a little bit more color, you could go around again. If you were going to go around again with this pattern, where you'd want to do your 3 double crochets are in these gaps here. So you'd want to enter here and do your 3 double crochets as opposed to in a stitch or something like that. I guess you could do it in the middle of each of these 3 as well. but I think it would look good if you wanted to go around again. You could offset them and put them in these spaces. But I honestly, I think that looks good just like it is with the one row all the way around. It just gives it a little splash of color, and you have this beautiful pattern. It's kind of a textured pattern on here, and it's a really pretty blanket. So if you want to, like I said, you can go ahead and go around again. For me, I am going to fasten off and call this done. So let's take a look at that. Get my scissors here. So we did our join right there. I'm going to give us a little bit of yarn as a tail to work through. And then, like I did before when I changed colors, the way I like to fasten off is just do a chain and pull it through. Gives it a little bit of a knot there. It's not like you can see it, but it's there. Now what we need to do is work in these tails. So you should have one at the bottom where you started, unless you worked that in to your single crochets around. If you changed colors, you'll have one where you changed colors, and then you'll have the one we just finished with there. And to weave those in, here's where you'll want your tapestry needle. And I think we'll start down here. I'm going to zoom that back in a bit so we can see. I am just going to thread my tapestry needle. I kind of do it the cheat way a little bit here. I just fold that in half so it's easier to put through. And then you can pull it like this. And all you need to do is find some appropriate stitches for you to actually weave this under where it won't be seen. So I'm just going to pick a few stitches here and there. And I'm going to try to go more than one way so that it would be harder for it to come out. So I went this way. Let me pull that up a little bit. Then I'm going to do a couple of stitches this way, and I'm probably going to go all underneath those like this, so you can kind of see, and you can't see it from the front side. Kind of going under a few here and there like this. I'll probably turn it a little bit and now go this way. There's a lot of options here. All right, just kind of pulling those through. I'll probably do one more. Like that. I'm going to pull that through and I'm going to call it done. Now all you need to do is take your scissors. I kind of pull it a little bit and cut it fairly close. And then when you kind of stretch that back out, that goes right away, and you see you can't see that anymore. So all you need to do is do that anywhere where you have these tails. If you have changed a different color, try to weave it in with light colors where you can, so that you can hide those as best as possible. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And then you have this beautiful blanket. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Let me know whether or not you did a border, or if you left it as is, or if you changed color. I'm curious to see what colors did you do, because there's so many different options you can do for colors. And share with everybody the different sizes that you might have done as well. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As usual, if you have any questions, please make sure to put your comments down below in the box. And if there's any other stitches or patterns you'd like help with, or you'd like me to do a tutorial on, please don't hesitate to put that in the comment box as well. And as usual, it really helps my channel out if you would like and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you give this a try. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.